Have us a nice little morning stream. There we go. Let people get in for the. I'm gonna talk a little bit for the playback, but we just kind of getting started. If you're just getting in on the playback, you might skip a couple minutes ahead, a few minutes ahead. I typically like to give the live stream some time for people to start showing up so we can do our thing in the morning. And I don't have a whole lot we're going to go over, but I say that, but we might start one place and end up some other place. Or, you know what? I have a few things we can go over this morning, actually. I had made a little list. Okay, Black Power, Spanish in America shut down argument of Spanish slavery. Spaniards in America. Oh, yeah, we'll do that. Filipinos in America. Did I just get something with that? So, yeah, good morning. We just getting started. Let me look at my little receipts here to see what I was correlating that with. Spaniards in America. Okay. I don't know where I was going with that, but we're going to get this going either way. All right. So this morning, I've been going through my receipts. And I just recently made a video about something about this morning. So it prompted me to want to do a live stream about it. You're looking at colored senators, right? But we also have more than just that. Let me go. I thought I had it all saved down here. Well, we have this. Now, these were some of the people who were in office in Alabama. So we're going to look at the entire South as I roll this up. But this is some people who were in Alabama. And notice it says the Negroes in the above picture were members of the legislature. What's up, Lola? How you doing? Good morning. I'm just getting started. Good to see you. Good morning to everybody. So I'm going to go back to the first photo I had up. So that makes you wonder about this. Now, this are different people. You have a senator in Mississippi, a senator in Alabama who voted these exactly. In Florida. This is the whole South. South Carolina and South Carolina. It's pretty much the South, right? Who voted these people in, right? And not only just that, let's look at a few other states with similar things. I thought I had all these things saved right there, down there. I may have to send them over to from my phone to here. That's crazy. Hold on, let me send them from my phone over to here. I'm like, I just sent them from my iPad over to my phone. So, I don't understand why it's not there, but whatever. Let me send all these. No, not that. I got too many devices around me right now. Okay. So there we go. All right, there we go. So not only are we talking about who voted in these senators, right? But we're going to be talking about Who voted in? Where's the other? Where's the full picture? Where's the full picture? That's a video. Who voted in these folks? Let's look at this one. I'll put this one up until I get this one. Now, at first glance, you may think this is mostly YTs, but as you get in, you really see who's there, right? Now, there are some YTs, but there is a heavy, heavy, heavy presence of us, Indians, right? We all throughout this thing. There's some YTs. And over here, you got your YTs. There goes some more of those colored folk, right? And then some more YTs. Okay? So here, you have that. Now let me send another one to my iPad. Let's send this. Well, I don't need to do that. Just that. And this. I need the full picture of that last one. Hold on 1 second. Where is that? Because I'm going to paint this picture for us, which is what really happened in the South. And I'm going to see if I can pull up some newspaper articles as well. Goodness gracious. Hold on. Let me send this, and then I'm going to find this other one. Let me type in Carolina. Dude, man. Okay. It's got to be on here. I just did a damn video with it this morning. That's what don't make no sense. And I know the word Carolina is on there. Good God. It must not see it. Negro. Let's see if we can see that word. Dude, man, that don't make no damn sense. I don't want to hold up my stream over this damn photograph. Let me look at my recents. You know what? I'm just going to do this. I'm going to take a screenshot out of this video so you can get it where I'm. Hell, if it ain't that goddamn serious. It's like it's right there in the video that I just did this morning. Okay, whatever, man. Shit. I know it's somewhere. Okay. So we're going to get back to it. So, okay. Here's South Carolina in 1868. Now, at first glance, you may not realize how many Negroes, they would call them, are in here. But down here, it'll tell you there are 98 Negroes opposed to 57 YTs. 98 Negroes, 57 YTs. And slavery ended 3 years. Why is it not zooming in? God damn, electronics piss me off. 3 years after this date. So, how does this happen? How does it happen that 98 niggers are voted into office, right? And you got to think about the gravity of that. Because this is at a time when people are not knowing how to read, write. They don't know. If you don't know how to read and write according to their narrative, right? If we're going by their narrative, slaves couldn't read and write, right? Then how the hell they know how to read the newspaper and figure out what was going on enough to figure out who to go vote for and where to go vote. Why would they even give a fuck about a vote? Nigga, try to figure out how to read first of all, and still do and figure out how to make a life. If that's the case, you was just thrown out of the plantation, or you was there and still sharecropping, and sharecropping is a bunch of bullshit. Um, but either way, like, what was really going on? What's going on, everybody that just came in here? Appreciate the follows. Appreciate people coming in. The morning time, man, be pretty active. Morning times be pretty active. So I like to teach y'all in the morning as I puff up. So yeah, let's talk about this. How does so many Negroes get in office? And that's just South Carolina. So for the people that's just coming in, let's go back through it. And we haven't even been through them all. So let's talk about the South. In South Carolina, 3 years after slavery, we had the power. Okay. Where else? In Mississippi, 7 years or so, 8 years or so after slavery, we held a vast, almost half of this office, of the offices. Okay? A lot of black faces in there. All right? When you zoom out, it's hard to tell. But that's Mississippi. So South Carolina, Mississippi, right? Well, what else we got? Well, look at Louisiana. Look at Louisiana. This dude ends up becoming governor, and they end up unaliving him, poisoning him. That's the speculation. We can go through that at some other time. I got videos about that. So we got Louisiana, we got South Carolina, we got Mississippi. I thought I had, oh yeah, and then we have Alabama. Alabama. Now, at first glance, it's kind of hard to tell how many Negroes, right? How many Negroes are in that picture, right? The Negroes in the above picture were members of the legislature. Now, I got a closer up picture where we can kind of zoom in a little bit, and you can see some of the countenances of some of the people. There are some YTs in there, but there are your Negroes, okay? They put them in the back. Ain't that a bitch? Smelly YTs in the front. Anyways, no disrespect to the YTs that smell good. Okay, so just think about that. And that's 1872, just to give dates. So between 1865 to no later than 1874, we were able to amass power in all of these states. That fast. Now, we'll get back to that. That's some bullshit. But that fast. How does that happen, right? How does this happen? Let me light up and we'll talk about it. Let me spark one up, as you can see. In my screen now, and we'll talk about it. Appreciate it. 71 people in there, a lot of folks coming in, a lot of new followers. Appreciate that. So y'all really got to think about this. At a time, like I said, when the only colored people, right? Most of these people should be unlearned men. Let's look at the population of total free blacks in those areas. Let's take a look. We're gonna go to the census forms here. Pull that up. One of my favorite forms to pull up. What the hell is it? It's your favorite one to pull up, nigga. You don't even know where it at. No, it's over here. It's got to be under my downloads. Hold on. It keeps getting, there it goes. It keeps going lower and lower because I keep saving shit. Okay. So let's take a look. Now, I got this from the census website, .gov, right? And it tells you the population between 1790 and 1850. Now, first of all, think about this. Let's paint this picture. Hate these people always trying to do these little games. Okay, so let's paint this picture. Notice we're talking about which states. We're talking about Alabama. We're talking about Louisiana. We're talking about South Carolina, the Carolinas, right? And we're talking about Mississippi, wherever the hell, yeah, Mississippi, right? So let's go, and we're talking about the years after this, but let's paint a picture. So we have a full amount of government after these years, 1870, right? Now, YT folks didn't even get to Alabama until 1820-ish, 1810-ish, right? And then you get counted in the 1820s. You also and why is this? Because of the Louisiana Purchase of 1803, remember? Mississippi. They didn't really get in there. They started getting in there until about 1800, slowly getting in there, and now they kind of fully in there 1810. You notice the big population increase by 1840. That's something to be explained, and I can explain that for you, but we ain't going to talk about that right now. We're going to stay on this topic of us being in power. Mississippi, Alabama, South Carolina. Now, South Carolina had a lot of people, always known to have a lot of us. Okay. Thank you. Appreciate that, Dorcia. Always known to have a lot of us. South Carolina, Mississippi, Alabama, and Louisiana, right? Louisiana Purchase, right? Whoops. Get off of there. Okay, Louisiana coming over, right? They didn't start really getting there until 1810 like that, okay? So why is that important? First of all, what was this area prior to Louisiana Purchase? The South. What was the South? For those who don't know what the South was, well, prior to 1800, Indian Land Territory maps. Well, I just kind of told you, didn't I? Hold on, I gotta put LOC. Images. I really just need to save it. I know I gotta save. I just hate to. Oh yeah, I can just do this. There we go. So this is from the Library of Congress.gov also, so I ain't bullshitting you, right? Census came from census.gov, right? No bullshit. All right. But what does it say over here? These are the Indian tribes from 1600 to 1800. Notice that? And what happens after 1800? 1803 Louisiana Purchase, right? So what about before Indians? We were more than that. Not really. We were tribes. The word Indian was also utilized by some tribes before some people showed up. By certain tribes. I think he said. I think it's Algonquin and other ones. They use words like that. Some people say indigo. Many different things of that nature. But prior to that, we were just tribes, Indians. Our tribes. We were names, right? What are you trying to say? We are the mound builders, exactly. That's what caused the war. Is Choctaw on there? Yes, we're gonna show Choctaw. And you know, Choctaws, just like others, like I was about to show her, say to her, is prior to that, we was Mayas, Olmecs, and Olmecs not really, they was all Maya. If you want to go back prior to that, but I just get tired of people saying we wasn't Indians. We were something prior to that. It's not that serious. Okay, it's not that serious. We're talking about a particular span of history. If you're talking about the 1600s to 1800s, if you're talking about the 1400s to the 1800s and afterwards, the literature is always going to denote us as Indians. In many cases, we have accepted the whole thing as term as Indians. In some cases, some people haven't. Some people still go by their tribes, but it is an identification marker, just like black, just like mulattoes, and just like every other thing else out there. But anyways, we're gonna get back to this lesson. So, 1600 to 1800, right? It was Indian territory prior to that. So that means most of that slavery of import, because that's another important date for you to know. Here's another important date for you to know. That's very close to that. Slavery of importation ban date. I already knew it, but I just want you to see it. 1808, okay? And we'll go to the National Archive record so you can see it directly from a government website like I love to show. Okay. 1808. Whoops, why did it do that? Good God, why is it doing that? 1808. When I zoom in, it's just tripping. Is when the importations of slaves from the Americas was banned. So think about this. For those who also don't know, let me give you a visual. The 13 colonies map. We're going back to school here. 103 people up in here, man. Appreciate y'all. I'm popping off in this morning. So we're going to go to the 13 colonies maps, right? Taking it back to high school, grade school, right? So this was your colonies. Why is that important? Why is it so important that you know how to separate the colonies from the goddamn South? Why is that important? Well, I'm going to show you why it's important. Because when you also go back and look, again, that's Indian territories, right? When you go back and look at the census from census.gov, and we'll get back to our main thing, which is really talking about how black people lost power in these states. But I want you to understand how the slavery thing is kind of like how that happened. Like, what you mean? Especially importations of Africans. So why is this doing this? I don't know why things is tripping this morning. Okay, so on here, it'll tell you, hey, importations didn't really happen until 1715 and 1808, and they just kind of guesstimate the numbers. Though they didn't count exactly 30,000, right? And they also didn't count exactly 90,000. Do you think they went through records and it's like, oh shit, nigga, we ended up right at 90,000. We good. How many came in the next year? About 35,000, somewhere around that. Oh, okay, shit, put that in there. Just kind of throwing it in there, throwing in what they want. You know what I'm saying? But at the end, it shows 333,000, right? Now, that's very close to the number that slavevoyages.org is going to show you for those who've never been, even though that number's been changed. And it's really only like 90,000. I'll show you that real quick, too. But if you go to... Let me not show my thing in the screen. There's so many people in here, somebody might report a nigga. They see a little blunt in the screen or something. Okay, when you go here, you go to the estimates. It's been a minute since I've been here, and they done changed the website up. When you go down to where they say, where is this show? The United States. Yeah, they done switched this up. Tables, Gold Coast, embarkation region. Okay. I don't know how the hell it switched. I don't know what the hell I clicked on. But when you go here, USA, right? They say 305. So they done went down some, right? But at least it's not a whole number. At least it's not 300,000. You know, at least they trying to make it seem, at least, you know, I think somebody probably noticed, like, when people go look at the papers, they might notice all these whole numbers showing we was lying. Somebody needs to do another study and actually give a real number in this bitch. I think that's what they tried to do with slavevoyages.org. But the funny thing with that is all of those are not from here. So let me type in, I think it's 90,000. No, let me type in Harvard. That means it's on my phone. Let me get it off my phone. Hold up. Harvard. Here it is. And let me send this, and let me send this one. Oh, I just gotta send this one. Okay. So let me show you how that number's been lowered even further to the iPad. Okay. Harvard EDU, right? I ain't showing y'all no BS, right? We on government websites, we on Harvard websites. The only thing I showed y'all that wasn't some government or something or EDU was those pictures in the beginning, which we'll get back to for those who joined and don't know what we're talking about. We're gonna get back to that. But as you can see here, now this is David Eltis, the dude that is over slavevoyages.org. Him and the little idiot, I can't stand whatever his name is, Henry Louis Gates. They've been going back over this whole little thing, and they said, hey, we show about enough records for about 90,000 Africans. So yeah, they ain't really got that many records. And between what years? 1520 to 1866. Yeah, that's not enough. Okay, that's not enough. That's not enough there. But also, even when you read further on the census form, it tells you in the paragraph above. You got to read a little bit, right? It tells us in the paragraph above that the trade of Negro slaves to the American colonies, notice it said to the American colonies. What's the colonies? Well, let's go back for the class. Slaves to this area. When do slaves get over there in the South? Let me blow that up. This damn thing be bullshitting. Okay, here we go. So, slaves to the colonies. When do black people get over here to that? You see that thing that says Indian Reserve? When they get over there, right? And then on top of that, the ones that say that we had black people over there, they would claim that the Indians would say that they were just slaves to the Indians, right? Even though white folks wasn't over there, and white folks was the main slave owners when they took over the tribes. But, that don't really make no difference, you know what I'm saying? And they didn't get there till after 1803 Louisiana Purchase. There were some white folks over there in the area, though. There were some kind of somewhat in the area, but they didn't take over. In fact, they did. Now that I'm thinking about timelines, they didn't really have themselves fully into the Chickasaw legislature fully until the 1860s, around this same time. And they dissolved, because I did a live stream on it recently, and I'll show y'all there real quick if I have the link down here. If I don't, fuck it. Let me do this. Chickasaw legislature, 1867. Right here. So we're on a .gov source right there, right? So I ain't bullshitting you, okay? 150 people. Boy, y'all ain't here getting the game this morning. I ain't bullshitting you, though. So who was in office in 1867, 1868? A bunch of, really, I do this whole thing where I can show you one document. I might just pull it up for you. But when you go down here. Now, your real Indian names are going to be like your Achanatubi, right? Or Josh Ishtar, right? But you got other people up here like W.M. Kemp, Jackson Kemp, J.D. Collins, Lewis Newberry, Humphrey Colbert, W.M. George, P. Brown, J.A. Smith. You got Ishtim Iatcher, whatever. That would be an Indian name. R.F. Rourke, Johnson, Percy. You got Kuchnatubby, Overton, Keel, Colbert, Welsh. And I show one document. Let me see if I got it pulled up still. If I got it still pulled up. Yep, it's actually still pulled up from when I did the live stream. Because I want to, all these people in here, y'all really need to know this. So this is a genealogical book about the Love family, okay? My family is a Love family, okay? Prominent Love family, okay? Now, certain people came over with Thomas Love on a boat in 1766. You got people with the last name of Ader, Cheadle, Colbert, Seeley, Kemp. We just saw Kemp, right? James, McLish, Love, of course that's Love, Pickens, and the like. They came over on British ships at some time around that time, right? But let's go back to see who's in office 100 years later. Who's in office 100 years later after them niggas stepped off the boat together? Oh, there's Kemp, Colbert, Love, Colbert, Kemp. You notice that? And they're paying themselves money, paying their companies money, and all this other stuff. Then they dissolved the government after that, dissolved the Chickasaw government after that, and then they reinstated again. Kemp, a lot of Kemps, Love, Albert Love that time. So continuing on, and they're paying themselves bread. And don't let them low numbers fool you. That was some good bread back then in some cases, especially bread like that. But that ain't about the story. I'm all over the place on these tangents. So let's get back to, we got a few things to get back to, because technically this live stream is about how did black people have so much power in the South? How did, not that one, but how did South Carolina have 98 black people and 57 white people in office in 1868, right after slavery? How did Louisiana look like this in 1868, right after slavery? How did Alabama have all these Negroes in 1872 in their legislature, Alabama, right? At that time, how did all that happen? Especially from a bunch of people who were slaves. So we're getting to that because we're talking about Louisiana Purchase. When did white T folks even get to the area to take over the black area, to take over the South? When did that even happen? Well, first of all, let's talk about these importations. Remember those fake importations where they just kind of guessed the number how they felt like? Well, if in this thing here, it says the trade of Negro slaves to the American colonies, that's why I just took y'all, showed you the American colonies and went on that tangent for a minute, right? Was too small before 1753 to attract attention. In that year, McPherson says 511 were imported into Charleston. And in 1765 to 1766, those imported into Georgia, in Georgia, could not have exceeded 1,482. So then it says from 1783 to 1787, the British West Indies exported to the colonies 1,392, nearly 300 per annum per year. So the British West Indies was sending people over. That's not Africans. Okay, these West Indies were the entrepot of the trade, meaning the West Indies were how the bulk of people were coming in here. Okay, now don't try to say, well, what it was, you see, is they would bring the Africans to Barbados first, and then they would starved the African out of them, okay? And beat the African language and all that, and they couldn't speak no more African. By the time they got here to America, they was blank slate NPCs, okay? They had to learn English. They had to learn how to do everything from scratch, okay? You just don't understand history. That's the problem with y'all niggas. Y'all just don't understand history like that. Okay? You don't understand. A nigga can come over here at 19 years old on a boat and forget all his African language and customs. Okay? It can happen. Okay? I don't know how he was thinking thoughts in his head and or what language he was thinking thoughts in his head in, but it can happen, okay? It's like when they stepped on they took him around the tree of forgetfulness. Whoever wants to believe that dumbass story. They took him around the tree of forgetfulness, okay? And by the time they put him on the boat, they didn't know a goddamn thing. They were just pissing and shitting and shit, okay? That's all they knew was pissing and shitting, okay? And then they got on the, by the time the English got them, they just started speaking English. They didn't know none of African languages and cultures. What do you mean? We can't keep that. They took the drum. They took the drum, nigga. What else was we gonna do? Okay, let me stop. Let me stop. Y'all see how idiotic all the talking points I can throw in there sound? You know what I'm saying? They slapped the African language out of you and took your drum, and that was it, nigga. Oh God. Okay, so back to the lesson. Okay. I got y'all cracking up. Okay, so back to the lesson. So I pretty much showed y'all. Even excuse me. I'm not even gonna go further into this paragraph here, but it says basically, you got these people coming from the British West Indies, okay? And you also got people coming from so-called Africa. Now, I'm not going to say that didn't happen. Some people will say it never happened. I see it in newspaper clippings. But I don't see a lot. And I don't see a lot of slave ship manifests. Let's get that out the way real quick, because that won't take but a second. Slave ship manifest. Quick Google search, right? You just got to know what you're looking for. Now, I go to this Ancestry thing. You can go here, but it's kind of weird, and I hate their website navigating it. But if you go to Ancestry, it's actually provided by the same website, the National Archives, that I was just showing you. It's just a whole lot easier to get there. Watch this. So when I click here, you have slave ship manifests from different periods and different places, right? Which ones are the ones coming from Africa? That would be your foreign inward manifest. Africa coming inward slave manifest, right? Okay. When we click it, you only have proof of these years. Well, that's funny. It's supposed to be 333,000. Well, let's keep it. And they were supposed to be coming in between 1715, remember? Between 1715 to 1808. Where's all that proof? Well, okay. They were just kind of guessing those numbers. So let's just take a look, you know what I'm saying? So we'll click on that. And when we click on it, you're going to notice that it takes us to the National Archive Records Administration right there. National Archive Records Administration site. So it's not no bullshit. Because I remember somebody one time was like, you're on Ancestry.com. That's not real. That's a .com site, Sam. I was like, God damn, man. Some people just don't understand. Okay. But why would I bring this manifest up? Many of y'all never seen a manifest. My followers, the people that's been around for a minute, they've damn sure seen them. Some of y'all just not seeing them. Now, what's important about this manifest? Well, before I show you the most important part, yeah, it tells you right there, somebody's coming from Africa. And where are they going to? Rhode Island. Right there, okay? Now, are there names on here? No, there are no names. It just says about 40 slaves right there, male and female, a couple more, 2 more, 3 more, 1 more, 1 more, 1 more. So you got about a total of 50-something slaves. That's not 100, 200, 300, 400, right? That they be seeing coming over on them boats. Because them boats were schooner boats. A schooner boat can't really fit a ton of people. So that's why it doesn't have a ton of people on it. Okay? Many things to think about that. But notice this number right here, 1 of 36. 1 manifest out of 36. There's only 36 manifest records of Africans coming in on boats in the National Archive records. And not only that, the images are front and back. So, I'm sorry, there's 18 slave ship manifest. This is the manifest. This one's handwritten and it's upside down. This is the manifest. This is the back of it. Oh, here's a manifest right there, right? 64 slaves and 21. That one's kind of packed on that schooner. About 80 folks, right? And here's the back of it. So we got about 18 slave ship manifests in the National Archive records. Well, that's not going to get you to 333,000 niggas, right? That ain't going to get you that far. That ain't going to get you that far. At all, right? You ain't going to be, especially starting off with 60 and 40 on the boat. Here's another one. 62. Y'all think we're going to get there? Y'all think we're going to reach these numbers right here they put on the census record some time ago? Do y'all really think they actually counted anybody with these whole numbers? Mm-hmm. Stop. Don't let nobody in. We got 30,000. That's all we need this year. Next year we go to 90,000. Okay? No more. Where you get that number from, man? Where the fuck you get that number from? I would like to know, because these records ain't gonna get you there. Okay? So let's go back to what we're establishing. Where we're getting back to the whole Black power, people empowering conversation. But that slave records, real quick, the slave records that I just showed you, again, and these people were coming into the colonies, that doesn't give them enough time to amass such an amount of people in the areas known as the Indian Territories. Remember on this map here, the 13 colonies, that they said that most of those slaves were coming into the 13 colonies between 1715 to 1808. And they only got 36 pieces of paper on that, 18 really, right? And then they pushed their way after 1803, Louisiana Purchase, into this area known as Indian Territory, right? Indian Reserve, right? Which are full of names of Indian tribes, which all these grandmas and these black people's grandpas and grandpas keep saying that they are tied to. And y'all want to say they playing around. They're not Indians. I heard somebody say yesterday, he was like, you got to understand, people just had to wanted to claim Indian because you would get blah, blah, blah. And you would, I don't know. It was something stupid or idiotic. They didn't want to claim black or whatever back in the day or something. I don't know. Half the time I can't remember what these trolls say. But that's not the case. I played a video. I went up there and I played a couple videos, and then they dropped the whole live stream. That typically be my reaction when I go on live streams to debunk people, because I start playing stuff, and they'll react to it, and then when I come back up and start showing some other stuff, I'll be in the background like looking up stuff and showing stuff, and all of a sudden they'd be like, the live stream has ended. Oh, really? Oh, okay. I know why that live stream ended. I'm not gonna go into that tangent. I was about to play the video that I played on, but anyway, I don't want to go because I'm gonna get way off. So we were just talking about the date. So slaves coming in. So what am I getting to? You don't really have a lot of slaves over there in Indian territory. Okay. But you have the bulk of black people are down there. So let's look at that. They didn't get into Alabama until after the Louisiana Purchase of 1803. They still wasn't there for a while until 1820. They started counting people. And then just out of nowhere, bam, 41,000 Negroes is right there. Where'd they come from? 41,000? But then the next year, 117,000. But you know the biggest jump? The next year, 253,000. Where'd they come from? Who that is? Who that is? And where they come from? But that's just one state. Let's look at motherfucking Mississippi, right? Mississippi. They didn't count nobody in Mississippi till 1800, after the Louisiana Purchase, right? Barely counted some folks. 17,000, kind of went up considerably. Where these niggas come from? I don't know. 32,000, 65,000. Biggest jump always happens after 1830. It's always a big jump after 1830. And I'll tell you real quick, it's because of the Dancer Rabbit Treaty of the Indians, but we'll get to that. Okay, but 1830, big jump, right? Louisiana, let's take a look at Louisiana for the Louisiana Purchase. Nobody being counted. All of a sudden, 34 niggas pop up and out of existence. Now, you couldn't have brought them over on boats. It's past 1808. You couldn't have brought 34,000 niggas over on boats. 69,000, 109, and then 168. Now, that ain't a super, 109 to 168 ain't as super big of a climb as 117 to 253. That was a major portion of what happened was Alabama and Mississippi, but we'll get to that. But so you have these population, and then what they would try to say. I've seen this in some official documents. They'll try to say, "Hey, there was a mass migration of niggas from the upper South to the lower South." You see, they said about 1 million niggas went from the upper South to the lower South. Watch this. I think I can just Google that real quick. But I think I have it on something. Let me see if I have a screenshot of it. Upper South. Oops. South. It might be on one of these. It might say that stupid shit on one of these. Okay. Yeah. This is upper South. Wait a minute, slave. Yeah, this was a plaque that I found on it. On top of that, I just saw this while going through my receipts, trying to organize my receipts, getting ready for this documentary. These documentaries I'm about to be doing. Plug while I got 188 people in here. These documentaries a nigga about to be putting out. But upper South. So notice it says, hey, over the next 50 years, slave traders forcibly transferred hundreds of thousands of slaves from the upper South to Alabama and to lower South and the lower South between 1808 to 1860. Look, they trying to make up a little story on how the increase happened. The other thing people try to say on how it happened was because of slave breeding. And that's a whole bunch of bullshit too. Since I done brought it up, I gotta easily debunk it real fast. Slave breeding. Look, watch. We'll easily debunk it. We're gonna find us. First of all, you won't find any .gov sites about slave breeding. The ones you're gonna see that I clicked on, there's a .org. You're gonna see me click on a Cambridge study, a Yale study. Okay, .edus. That'll be what I really give a damn about. But I clicked on some of the other ones as well. But let's just look at the Yale study. I don't want to go through all of them, but many of them are going to say the same thing. Some will say opposite. These, which come from EDUs, won't say opposite, okay? Going through here, you'll see things like, hey, despite extensive research, there is few, if any, documented cases of slaveholders breeding slaves for sale, okay? Come back down to another one here. Let's find us another little Blow your way comment. Let's see. Stamp suggests that breeders did not record such practices because they were its reprehensible nature, but the lack of documentation may also indicate that relatively few slaveholders bred slaves. Okay, coming down here, it says. Now, see, here's another thing right here where somebody else threw that in there. Between 1790 to 1860, approximately 1 million slaves migrated from the southern eastern United States to somewhat to the southwestern frontier. This forced migration. Now, we're going to look at the census records to see if that makes sense, right? So people can say a story all they want to and read. Like, I think they were studying the slave breeding story and they tossed this in and thinking that this was just whatever, but they need to look into that before you say that. But anyways, you come down here, the interregional. That's the first time I've ever had. I was like, what is that word? I've never heard of the word interregional. That's why I had to look at it several times. Okay, the interregional trade, slave trade. Never heard of the word interregional. Yeah, but I get it. Intra-regional, interregional, intracontinental, intercontinental. I get it. You know what I'm saying? But also affected the demographic composition of the slave. Higher children ratios, higher child-woman ratios may indicate higher fertility rates, if not describe deliberate slave breeding. Whether systemically bred or not, the natural increase of slaves force was an important and probably the most important. Okay, hold on. According to slave breeding popularity, but basically, you get what I'm saying. You just go through here. Whatever. You go through here. This thing's 35 pages long. And then there's another one I think I read. This is the Cambridge study. There is no consistency on what constitutes slavery. They were saying they don't know what it is, and they kind of talk about it. It says no one knows how many slave owners breed slaves for the market. Abolitionists accused people of doing it. People denied it. You know what I'm saying? It was like nobody really knows, but it's also like there's no proof of it anywhere. Everybody's talking about there's no proof. They don't know whatever. And the population increase isn't explained by that. So let's go back. So I just had to get that out the way. So let's go back to this. Okay, so they said about a million people were forced from the upper South to the lower South. So what should we see? We should see, and they said between the years of 1808 and 1860. So what they're trying to explain are these numbers here. The 253,000 niggas that popped up out of nowhere in existence. Oh, who are these people? Okay. And some of the other ones in many of the other states. So what we need to see is a similar transfer of niggas or a decrease of niggas, right? Negroes, from other states. Well, let's take a look. Virginia's pretty damn south, pretty upper South, right? 293,000, 345 down, 392, 425, 459, 449, 472. I ain't seeing no decreases. Okay. Well, that's Virginia. Maybe they meant from South Carolina. Okay. 107, 146, 193, 258, 315, 327, 384. I don't know. No. Okay. Well, maybe they meant from North Carolina. Okay, 100, 133, 168, 205, 245, 245, 268. Okay, see what happened is all the kids that was born between here and here was sent to the South. Okay, so there was 30,000 kids that we just didn't record there, and we sent them during those years. You just don't know it. Okay. Or maybe it was Maryland. That's not really South, but 103, 105, 111, 107, 102, 89, 90. That's a little decrease. But you know why slavery decreases up in Maryland? The same reason why slavery decreases in New York. Notice how New York has 21,000, 20,000, 15,000, 10,000, 75. 75? Who killed all the niggas? Where'd they go? You gotta know how to read. You gotta know how to understand. You gotta know how to know a little logic. I ain't never had 175 people in here, man. That's crazy. I appreciate y'all being in here. Where they go? Where the niggas go? Hold on, man. That was just There's niggas in New York today, ain't there? You know what I'm saying? What happened? Well, let's see if a similar thing happened somewhere else up north. Connecticut. Okay, in Connecticut, right? Wasn't a lot, 2,000, but Connecticut's pretty small, right? 951, 310. Who got rid of the niggas? By the time you get to 1850, they gone. Ain't there some niggas in Connecticut right now? I know somebody can tie themselves to Connecticut in 1850. Don't trip. Don't, you know. Can you guess what happened? Did they mass migrate to the south? Well, that would have been from the upper north, not the upper south. So that don't make sense. So to the south. Slavery was abolished in the north, remember? Wasn't slavery abolished in the north? The whole thing with the whole Civil War, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. Slavery was abolished in the north. So the black people didn't disappear. They're just no longer counted as slaves. Because we're only looking at slaves. Come down here, you're talking about free blacks. That's a whole nother category. And a whole nother amount of people, too. And the mulattoes. Okay? So now when you look in New York, there them niggas go. There them niggas go right now. There go 40,000 niggas. There them niggas go over there. They free. Maryland, 61,000. Okay. There they go, right? So they didn't. So we can, what I'm getting to is we can account for, even just by looking at this document, we can account for the removal of niggas from one area to the next, but we don't account for this large increase that happened. And why is this important? Because where that large increase is where we started off our whole journey of this live stream. How does Louisiana look like this in 1868, 3 years after the damn slavery ended? How does South Carolina look like this in 1868 with 98 niggas at the top, 52 on white tees on the bottom? 3 years after slavery. How does Alabama have Negroes all in their stuff in 1872? And how does Mississippi in 1874 have Negroes all throughout here? And there was mulattoes and white tees. They up in there too, you know. We can get to that. See, there goes some more. There goes some more. He's an undoubted nigger, right? Undoubted. Now, what's sad is what really did happen to these folks. What happened? Because just 20, 30 years later in Mississippi, you don't find a single one except that guy right there. Everybody else now, coincidentally, is of the snowflake race. You know? That's what they look like now in Mississippi. Right? Well, not now, but, well, now too, but this was like, I took this in like, I think this was like 1910 or some shit like that. About 30 years after this, and it might have been like 1900. I can't remember, but let's listen to something that explains kind of what happened to some of them. Now, before I let you listen to that, this guy was unalived, likely poisoned, and I can find you an article that talks about that. What happened to some of these other folks? Well,
and a half later, more than a century and a half later, The original 33 black legislators in Georgia are being memorialized.
He said, "You seem to be promoting racism currently. All this race talk. I don't like it." Well, you seem to be blocked. You seem to be blocked, nigga. Go on somewhere with that bullshit. Anyways.
ACL 22 News' Andy Cole joins us now live. Andy, you found out they're going to be honored all across the state.
Yeah, Greg, now that the original 33 Memorial Act was passed and signed into law by Georgia Governor Brian Kemp, State Representative Carl Gilliard is moving fast to make his dream a reality. For far too long, says State Representative Carl Gilliard, the original 33 have gone unnoticed.
They decided to run for office. They were black Republicans after Reconstruction. They won the election, representing all the counties across Georgia. And
now, did y'all notice that? That's the same photograph I'm showing you all with the 98 Negress, right? And the one white tee, or then the 52 white tees who got a little mayo mad and decided he wanted to say something about we talking about race. Well, no, sir. We're talking about history here, okay? We like to talk about history. And unfortunately, you all did some pretty egregious things in history, okay? So me talking about those things is just talking history. Now, if you don't like what you did in history, don't read history. Okay, let's just keep it there. But let's keep going.
You found out they're going to be honored all across the state.
Yeah, Greg, now that the original 33 Memorial Act was passed and signed into law by Georgia Governor Brian Kemp, State Representative Carl Gilliard is moving fast to make his dream a reality. For far too long, says State Representative Carl Gilliard, the original 33 have gone unnoticed.
they decided to run for office. They were black Republicans after Reconstruction. They won the election, representing all the counties across Georgia. And
how did they win the election? Well, let's look at the numbers real fast and we'll continue. In Alabama, by 1850, it'd be a little bit more in 1860, you had about 350,000 people, right? Well, how many white people were in Alabama at that time? How many white people, or hold on, don't want to say it that way. What was the white population in Alabama in 1860? That's 1860. Let's do 1850. As you can see, it shows a considerable increase. Don't forget, they've been flooding the zone with Ellis Islanders around that time. When did Ellis Island start? I believe around that time. Let's look. But immigrants been coming in forever. When did Ellis Island happen? A little bit later, 1892 to 1854. It's almost like what they did was come in, take over the Congresses, change the immigration laws and all these things, and flooded the zone. Oh, my bad. Flooded the zone right after that with millions. 12 million, to be exact. You want to know how we got taken over? It wasn't because we were beating wars. We were flooded. They flooded the zone. By the time you bring in 12 million immigrants, just like they brought in millions of immigrants of those Mexicans not too long ago and allowed them to vote, right? Allowed them to try to do things, right? Well, isn't this similar? You bring in 12 million over the next several years, and now you're going to win every election after that. How are you going to lose? Right? How are you going to lose? Because you got to wonder. We'll come back to that. How does it end up to this years later? Well, it's kind of hard to vote in enough niggers when they've sent in tons of their folks to flood the zone, right? That's not a. And people be like, "Why? Hey, how y'all let them take you over? Y'all want to be weak? Y'all weak as hell." No, nigga, ain't nobody beat nobody in war. They made treaties with the Indians. Do you know what a treaty is? Do you make a treaty with a group of people that you just whooped their ass? I just whipped your ass. What can I do for you? I just beat the hell out of y'all and damn near killed and massacred all of y'all with small pockets, dollars, and stuff. How can I help you out in this treaty? Let me give you some land. Let me give you some government funds. Let me give you some access to stuff. That don't make no damn sense. You do that to people you couldn't beat. You couldn't get off the land. Because we still on this bitch. And then you do some trickery later on and reclassify us as niggas. You know, how the game go. I had to just kind of go on a quick tangent as I roll up another one on 200 some of y'all. That's crazy. I ain't never had this many people up in the damn live stream. But it's been increasing, I ain't gonna lie. People been coming in the mornings on the game. Appreciate y'all. It says same shit now. Paper genocide. Exactly. And so you got to think about it, man. Like, visibility restricted. Somebody's reported. I don't like the race talking. It keeps saying the word white. Oh my God. Y'all people look goddamn trip, man. I done scrolled on here and started listening to this nigga. And now he over here disrespecting me and shit. I don't know why it's on my screen still. I could have scrolled left, but I'm not gonna sit here for this. I'm gonna hit the report button and listen some more. I got his number. I think it's crazy as well, man. Ain't gonna stop me from talking. Goodness. Speaking history here, okay? We're just speaking history. Let's get back to the video. So they can see what happened. What y'all did to my folk. Who was Indians in that area. Likely councils and in those old world buildings. In those capitals. Likely we was the people all in those old world buildings throughout the Indian country. Right? We had power. We had power in 1867. We was inside of them. Who was there before? Again, let me pose this question before I play him. So those people were voted in 1860s, right? Who was in government from 1820, 1830, 1840, 1850? If we had the majority. Now, what they would try to say is, hey, YTs were in government all throughout this time, and I got to go find proof of that. Bet money I ain't going to find proof of that. I'm going to be looking further into this. And then all of a sudden, when we freed the slaves, bam, they done outvoted us. Damn. They done outvoted us and they put all y'all up in the house. We got to do something about this. That's what they want you to believe. Okay? My thoughts, completely different. Okay? But let's listen to what happened. Especially when you look at what they had to do to get us out of office. Let's listen.
Gilliard, the original 33 have gone unnoticed.
They decided to run for office. They were black Republicans after Reconstruction. They won the election, representing all the counties across Georgia. And unfortunately, in 1868, they were not allowed to serve. They were expelled because of the color of their skin.
The group, many of the ministers, were persecuted for simply living and wanting to serve their state.
In 1870, they were reinstated, but to the point of a loss of life and to be ridiculed and scandaled. 14 of them were lynched. Point of a loss of life and to be ridiculed and scandaled. 14 of them were lynched.
That's why over the last
14 of them were lynched.
that
14 of them were lynched.
Yes. Yes. That's how they got him out of office. And didn't I tell you they got another man out of office? Through speculative poisoning, who became governor and then tried to, oh, it's a long story. And that pissed me off. It pisses me off every time I look at that now. Let me pull up this receipt for you. Stop talking about that race. I don't like race talk. It makes me think, and I don't like thinking. Oscar Dunn, right there, right? This is the article about him. Now, I already knew by looking through newspapers about him that somebody likely unalived him. And then one day I found this article, and I knew I didn't have the wrong speculation because they were speculating it as well. They say, hey, on September 26, 1868, Governor Henry C. Wormuth, which was a YT dude, vetoed the Civil Rights Act of 1866, creating a schism within Louisiana's Republican Party. Dunn, the dude right there, Dunn helped lead the faction which sought to remove Wormuth. Okay? In 1871, they had mustered enough support to impeach the governor. So he had the YT dude and the rest of the other black Congress members, they had the YT dude impeached. Okay? Had got him up to where they was going to impeach him. But before the YT dude Wormuth had his trial, Dunn, the black dude, who was now appointed governor, which he was governor first, and he was getting him out, and he was acting governor, so you know that, became violently ill and quickly unalived, leaving many to speculate he had been poisoned. Okay? And they was talking shit all about him in the newspapers, man. It's really a horrible story. It's really a horrible story, right? Like right here, how they was talking shit about him. They was like, hey, in 1841, a Negro boy named Oscar Dunn was advertised as a runaway slave in New Orleans, Piscayne. Now, what that mean? What they're doing is they're saying that, hey, this dude used to be a slave, and that is not right. And I'll show you in another newspaper article where it's not right. And I got a whole video where I talked about the Dunn name. It's a whole ordeal with the Dunn name. It's going to be a documentary in itself, to be honest. But it says, some months ago, the same Oscar Dunn was elected lieutenant governor of Louisiana. And then they say, and a week ago, the same Oscar Dunn was carried to his tomb. And they say, the worms, alas, feed alike upon Oscar Dunn the slave as upon Oscar Dunn the governor. To this complexion must we come at last. To this complexion must we come at last. What do you think they're talking about? Somebody said, what the hell? Man, I stop that race talk. I'm still in here. They don't want me to read the newspapers on them. They said the worms feed on them. That's how they talking about them in the newspapers. Okay? Now, let me find another one. This one was like, Oscar Dunn, who just died holding the office of lieutenant governor, made his escape from slavery. In 1846, they were trying to paint this picture. He wasn't nothing but a slave. Afterwards, purchased his freedom. He didn't purchase his freedom. His dad purchased his freedom, supposedly. And even then, that's a bunch of bullshit. But let me keep going. And that would have been when he was actually like a kid, like a small kid. So that's why they say he was never really a slave. He never really actually worked as a slave. And never was on the plantation. His dad only purchased, that's a whole other story. But afterwards, purchased his freedom, accumulated a large property, served in the Union Army, went into politics at the close of the war, and was elected lieutenant governor in 1868. Tall, well-formed, with massive intellectual head, broad shoulders, pleasing features, courteous and refined address, sound judgment, and great ability as an organizer, all this other stuff. So this one wasn't too bad about him, but they were still kind of throwing a little propaganda about him. But this one right here is going to show somebody was like, look, they start the article off saying, not a slave. Let me just start this off. They're like, let's say this first. Not a slave, nigga. Let's throw that in there, okay? So when I first saw that, I was like, damn, okay, well, you know. Let me keep reading, right? And it says, a paragraph was going around the rounds to the great edification of the enthusiastic Negrophilus, setting forth the following fact. Yeah, they called him a Negrophilus. It's kind of funny. That must have been a thing at the time, because this is good about him, not bad. Advertised in New Orleans, people saying Oscar was a runaway slave. Died in New Orleans, Oscar Dunn, lieutenant governor, whatever. It says the touching proof of the vicissitude of fortune and the intervention of providence to the discomfiture and mortification of the wicked oppressor of the black man has doubtless melted many a heart and powerfully impressed its solemn lesson. Accordingly, there can be no harm in communicating the disenchanting fact. Boy, they be talking. But here we go. Here's the main part. There can be no harm in communicating the disenchanting fact that Oscar Dunn referred to never was a slave. New York, blah, blah, blah. Okay? They started off saying he wasn't a slave, and they said, hey, and there's some rounds going out here saying that he was a slave. But the nigga was never a slave. Okay? So this is the thing they're trying to hang their head on right here, on why they call him a slave. Because they said, hey, and this is from 1841. Those other ones were from 1869. Okay? I found all these, literally found all these. That's all I got to do these documentaries. Plug. I got to do these documentaries because I literally got too much proof that I done found on all kind of things. And my thing is, some of these stories have been told, yes, but they don't show the proof. Like even reading that article and some of these articles, it's cool to read the article and somebody tells you the proof. But people have to show everything they say, in my opinion, these days. And that should be the only people y'all believe. If they just talking, let them talk. It's okay to like talk like about philosophical things, like metaphysics, astrology, things, spiritual things of that nature. The what ifs in life, and have an imagination. That's fine too. But when somebody's trying to tell you about facts, you need to go look at the facts. Where the hell the facts at? You know what I mean? Like recently, just on a little side story. Recently, I'm doing a lot of research on the Geechees, Gullah Geechees, from some of y'all will call them. But let me plug this in. But and like when I'm looking at their documentaries that are out there right now about it, they would say things like, "Oh, we were playing this song." I should show you that real quick, but I'm gonna end up getting off of this little tangent. Well, let me just say this real quick. Oscar Dunn shows that he was a runaway, and then I'll show y'all that. Oscar Dunn shows that he was a runaway, right? Says, hey, he's running away. Negro boy, Oscar Dunn, apprentice, okay, for the Wilson and Patterson Company. And it says why he's looking for him, right? Well, when you look at the history of Oscar Dunn, it will clearly tell you okay, right here. Dunn, which is his dad. Now this particular Dunn, they're talking about his Dunn's dad, because this is 1832. We're going even back further. Dunn had earned enough money as a carpenter to purchase the freedom of his wife and his children, but Dunn was already free. So Oscar Dunn's dad, James Dunn, not James H. Caldwell, that was apparently his slave owner that he purchased his freedom from Caldwell. But long story short, his dad purchased his freedom at a very early age, in 1832. So and he was born in 1819. So by 1832, he would have been 29, 20, 30, 31, 32. He'd been like 12 or 13 years old. So he wouldn't have been a slave. He wouldn't have been working on nobody's plantation. They say that he only got the slave status because his mom was a slave, but his dad was free. And so legally he was a slave. The whole story is annoying as fuck, but that's why they say it happened. And so Oscar Dunn, he was, by 1832, he was free, even if you want to say he was a slave, right? So he wasn't an apprentice at that age. He didn't start doing an apprenticeship until later. In fact, I'll show you down here. It says Oscar Dunn was apprenticed as a young man to the plastering in whatever A.G. Wilson. Wilson, like I found in that newspaper document, right? And Dunn's free status was verified by Wilson in the Free People of Color Register in 1840 to 1864. I need to find that goddamn register. I remember I was supposed to be looking for that now. Yeah, I need to find that. But anyways, in the Free People of Color Register from those years. And I may have found it back then. I can't remember. But okay. And so, but it says, but the contractor reported Dunn as a runaway in the newspaper ad. However, Dunn must have returned back to work because he progressed in the world. Now, that's just a Wikipedia explanation, but think about it. We know 100% for sure by 1841 he was not a slave because his dad purchased his freedom in 1832, right? Even if you want to go with the story, if he was some kind of slave, right? So that means he wasn't working for A.G. Wilson as a slave. But why is there a runaway newspaper out here? Aren't runaways slaves, right? Well, no. Now you got to start thinking. This was the first newspaper document that got me thinking this, which is, wow, you could be reported as a runaway from your job as an apprentice. Now, you also got to start thinking, why would a person care that much that they had to get you back to work? Why do you think that they would care? What would bind you to an employer? A contract. He was a contractor under contract for a specific amount of time, likely, right? Then when you run away or leave the job because you like, fuck that motherfucker, I ain't dealing with this shit, right? And you leave, well, give me just a second. Something just popped up on my phone. All right. I guess I will be busy later. My bad. Let me move this real quick. Okay. So now you got to think. You could, every one of these you see that says that they was a runaway doesn't mean it was a slave. If it doesn't say runaway slave or the word slave in there, it was just somebody leaving their job. But then you start thinking, what was slavery anyway? Because they were runaways. You got black people who are free, who are contracted out like indentured servants in what y'all would call them for a certain amount of time, and they could be listed as runaways. Indentured servants could be listed as runaways too. So could slaves. What was a slave? Well, just because Oscar Dunn was free, is it because he was working on plaster and all this other stuff that means he was not a slave? No, there was people who were slaves who were listed as slaves, but who were listed up under, doing plastering and other things too. So you really got to really think differently about the whole slave narrative. There was also people in slavery who could purchase their freedom out of slavery in installment payments. Who knew that? This right here is the, do I have a screenshot of it? I guess I ain't got it on here, but this book right here is the autobiography. This is a page out of the autobiography of Booker T. Washington, who would have been an eyewitness during that time of slavery, right? So let's take a look at this. They say, hey, one of the best illustrations of this, which I know, is of a case of an ex-slave from Virginia, whom I met not long ago in a little town in the state of Ohio. I found that this man had made a contract with his master 2 or 3 years previous to the emancipation. Now, this is a different type of contract. To the Emancipation Proclamation, to the effect that the slave was to be permitted to buy himself by paying so much per year for his body. Think about that, first of all. Booker T. Washington is saying, hey, you can buy your freedom in installment payments. But let's keep going further. And what I'm busting open is that whole, you was a slave for life. You couldn't get out of that shit. Okay? And then your kids were slaves. It was horrible. Yeah, you could pay payments to get out or something, but how you gonna do that? How would you get paid? Well, people was getting paid. How would people get paid? We wouldn't get paid. We were slaves. Okay? We just had to go out there and pick the cotton. Wasn't nobody out here trying to do all that. Okay, anyway. So that's what they want you to think. It's like, because there is two main questions. How are they getting paid? I thought when people keep saying it, we built the America for free. We didn't get a dime. Right? But the same thing, at the same time, if you ask every single one of those people, didn't some slaves get paid? Well, yeah, some people got paid, but we didn't get a dime. Okay? But how does that exist in the same thought, in the same head of somebody, right? You go sit here and say we didn't get a dime, but we could pay ourselves. But didn't people buy their way out of freedom, sir? Yeah, of course. But you just said y'all didn't get a dime. Not a penny. I don't think you listening to yourself. I don't think you listening. Put them together, sir. That doesn't make sense. How many not dimes can I put together to buy my freedom? Is the question, bro. It says, hey, and while he was paying for himself, he was permitted to labor where and for whom he pleased. So he was able to go get a job wherever he wanted. Okay? And it says, finding that he could secure better wages in a different state, Ohio, he went there. So he done left the state. Okay? Is he a runaway? Well, let's keep going. It says, when freedom came, he was still in debt to his master. So by the time the Emancipation Proclamation happened, he still owed that dude some money. And he said some $300. He still owed him some $300. And he said, notwithstanding that the Emancipation Proclamation freed him from any obligation to his masters, he's like, he's free. He ain't got to pay that. He said this black man walked the greater portion of the distance back to where his old master lived in Virginia and placed the last dollar with interest in his hands. Typical niggas. We don't want nothing over our head. You know what I'm saying? We too good for it. And I'll be the same way. You know what I'm saying? I'll be like, man, let me go pay this dude off. I don't want this dude to feel like I'm doing something bad. You know what I'm saying? But okay. And it says, and then talking to me about this, and then you got to think about it. If your slave master was beating you, whipping you, raping you, They done sold your kids, all this other stuff. You still gonna be nice to him afterwards? Or do you think it wasn't as bad as it probably was saying? You know what I'm saying? It probably wasn't that. It may not have been that bad for that one. You know what I'm saying? But okay, let's keep going. In talking to me about this, the man told me that he knew that he did not have to pay his debt, but he had given his word to his master, and his word he had never broken. Just like a nigga. Well, not all of them, but he felt that he could not enjoy his freedom till he had fulfilled his promise. So that was one of the things. So this ain't the only account I have of people being able to buy their freedom or people being paid during slavery times. Also got some, just a side note. How many new people knew, I found this in the Library of Congress, how many people knew that if you were a free man, that you could be put in jail for a crime, and if you couldn't pay those fees, like amounting debts from people pulling you over, and then you don't go to court, and the court fees go up and up and up. Did you know you could be sold into slavery for life? Did you know that? Did you right here? So hold on. Let's just go back. Let's just go some back. I want you to see the whole sentence. The result is that free citizens are often arrested, plunged into prison, and then sold for their jail fees as slaves for life. Who knew that? That should open up some thoughts on slavery, because you think of slavery as just being these people coming over on boats, right? And if everybody that is of a black color came on boats here, one, why do you need to institute such harsh laws that can get them caught up to be put in prison to be sold as slaves first, right? Nigga, you came from a boat. There is nothing else for you but slavery. What do you mean? If you can't pay these fees, we putting you back out there. I thought that's where I was gonna go anyway. Just put a nigga back out there. Fuck, I gotta pay. How I'ma pay it? I don't get paid. Right? How I'ma pay it? How did I get free in the first place? Well, I just showed you people could pay for their freedom in installment payments. Well, how did that person become a slave in the first place? Oh, well, they allowed. So this would be the story. And this is around 1829 and before. But, and there's so many things to read on here, to be honest, because this is going to show how they were shipping you to different areas. After they would put you in jail and they would sell you off to slavery, they would ship you to a different area of the United States. And guess what? If they told the people that you were African to put it on the paperwork, who's going to know? Who would know the difference? If you were an Indian, right? Not if, but let's say you're Indian. And let's say they arrest you in New York. And they send your black ass down to Savannah, Georgia. Well, they can easily type whatever they want on those things. Those are intercontinental. Those would be intercontinental slave trade manifests. And there are a ton of intercontinental slave trade manifests. In fact, let me show you. I'll be going from one thing to the next, but it'd be all connected. Right now, I'm just kind of freestyling. We kind of went over the main thing, which was the I already had those slave ship manifest open. So, which was the whole thing about us losing power, which I'm going to have to study further into that to get more on some real details on what happened. But So we're going to go back on this slave ship manifest. Remember I said most of these are going to be intracontinental. So we clicked on this and you have your foreign. That was your Africa. And we only had 18 documents in there, so they lacking. And remember, when you click on this, you only get these years right here, right? Well, let's see how many years you get when you click on someplace like Savannah. Oh. A lot of these popped up. Now, the first thing you should recognize are the years. Why are they important? Because after 1808, you couldn't import anybody from outside America. It was banned, remember? So just immediately looking at these dates, you have to assume that these are all intracontinental manifests. And they have a lot of them. The only ones they're going to have that might be foreign, even though these aren't foreign manifests, they say they're intracontinental, so that doesn't make sense. It would be coming from 1798 to 1824. But when you click on them, they're all going to be intracontinental because they're inward. Notice the word inward, Savannah, Georgia, coastwise, not foreign, okay? And then when you click on them, notice you have 547 images, not 36 from the ones from Africa. And notice you have names on them, not like the ones you had from Africa. Notice they have a class, and then sometimes they'll say that's color. This one says yellow. You got that person. You got slaves, manifest of slaves. Coming to Savannah, and they're coming from passage on board of blah, 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 Dr. Dubois, slave clans. Oh, coming from Charleston. So they went from Charleston, South Carolina to Savannah, Georgia. Ship the nigga off. All right, let's go to another one. This is a manifest upside down, kind of off, different style. Here's a person, Sylvia possibly, a female, 22 years of age, class black. Going from Charleston to Savannah. So these will probably be a lot of Charleston to Savannah manifests. And you see Kathy, possibly, Henry, whatever those are. 3 females. Class black. So I'm not going to go over too many of these, but I just know some of y'all never seen them. But as you can tell, we got proof of slaves going around. Or people that labeled as slaves. Oh, you black? I would say you're a slave. But whatever. And there could have been slaves going around. But in many cases, these people were just labeled that, especially via the census. I don't want to get into that. Every time I get into something, I get into something, I'll get into something. Let me just make sure I went through. Oh, yeah, we were talking about this. I was like, what the hell was I talking about? And this was even a side tangent. But it will tell you in here that you could be sold for your jail fees. You know what I'm saying? And it talked about certain laws being passed and weird laws in areas. Like it says, hey, in 1820, the Senate passed a law in the United States of American Congress assembled, empowered the corporation of the city of Washington to prescribe the terms, conditions upon which free Negroes, mulattoes may reside in the city. On this authority, in May 1827, that corporation enacted that every free Negro or mulatto, whether male or female, may come to the city of Washington to reside, shall within 30 days exhibit to the mayor satisfactory evidence of his or her title to freedom to be recorded, and shall enter into bonds with 2 freehold sureties, and the penalty of $500 conditioned on his or her good conduct, that they will not become chargeable to the corporation for the space of 12 months. The bond to be renewed every year for 3 years. On failure, so that was a bunch of the whatever. So basically, they're saying, hey, if you a nigga and you come into this state You got to come down to the mayor and prove your satisfactory evidence that you have a title of freedom. And if you don't, there's going to be penalties. And they say, hey, and if you fail to do this, on failure of this, he or she must depart from the city or be condemned to the workhouse, not exceeding 12 months anyone imprisonment. Think about that. They say you must get out of the city or be committed to the workhouse, not exceeding 12 months of anyone imprisonment in a workhouse. Huh. Okay. But, okay. And it says, and all Negroes found residing in the city after the passage of the act who shall not be able to establish their title of freedom, except such that may be hired, shall be committed to jail as absconding slaves. So they was passing laws, and it was like by this law color is made a crime which first robs citizens of their constitutional as well as inalienable rights, as well as it's been taken into evidence that they were slaves and blah 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 in the crown. So it's like, hey, you're assuming that I was a slave just by me showing up here because of my black skin, and I was never no slave, and then now I got to somehow prove to you that I got freedom papers, but I was never a slave to be free from somebody. And now you're going to throw me in jail because I didn't prove satisfactorily to you that I had freedom. And then if I can't pay the fees that amount up while I'm in jail, well, they'll sell me as a real slave for life to the workhouse. And if I stay in there too damn long, they'll march my ass out and put me on the goddamn boat. These niggas put the whole animation on this bitch. Put me on the goddamn boat and called me a goddamn African. So sad, yet so funny the way I put it, right? Oh, God, dude. Pointing right at his ass, calling him. Oh, my God. Yeah, man. I got something to do here pretty soon. Let me see what time I got to be up out of here. Okay, hold up. Let's see. When did this 8 a.m. show up? Hold on, y'all. Yeah, let me text this person. I completely did not see this. I wasn't gonna be able to make it anyway. And I wasn't gonna be able to get my guys out there either. Give me just a second. Man, this popped out of nowhere. Okay, my bad, y'all. This came out of nowhere. Got a business to attend to, and somebody booked at 8 a.m. at some random time, and I'm not gonna be able to get my guys out there. Somebody else just got to 12 o'clock. And I got a podcast to do here at 10 and make sure that time is 10 and make sure I'm not tripping on that time. Okay, 10 o'clock. Yeah. I need to be getting off here pretty soon, but okay. So, yeah. I'm not going to be on here too much longer. Those pictures are fabricated. This came from... You want me to show you where I got this picture from? When you go to the Library of Congress, all you got to do is search the word slave. It's that easy. Let's see how doctored up Library of Congress video, documents are. Let's have fun with that. You scroll down a little bit. I think maybe I had to go. I might. Oh, there it goes. Fucking page 1. You know what I'm saying? In the Library of goddamn Congress. I guess they doctored it up. I guess they. Who did this? Who put that out here like this? Fucking dumbass. I'm tired of this racism talk and these doctored up photographs you keep putting up here. Getting all this fucking TikTok attention this morning. I don't give a damn. Okay? Y'all niggas need to quit. Quit going in the archives. It's AI. It's all AI anyways. Okay? AI's done been in all the archives and redid it all. So everything's invalid. Okay? Unless I put it out on my page and I say something about it, it's all invalid. Anyway, man, people are crazy. Doctored up goddamn photos. Where you at, bitch ass nigga? Who the fuck said that? Well, let me go back to that motherfucker. It doesn't matter, bro. This Freemason work. Hold on. You got a bird as your avatar. Get your bird brain the fuck out of here and get blocked, nigga. You got a bird as an avatar gonna tell me about history. Yeah, you stand on everything you say as a bird, nigga. Put my face out there, my goddamn name. I stand on everything I motherfucking say. God damn it. People are crazy. Hold on. Hey, boss, do you have time to do a premium detail this morning? Question mark. Or this afternoon? Question mark. So yeah, man, these people is crazy, dude. That's doctored. How do you just say that just off top? You ain't really look, you ain't study, you ain't even ask nigga where you get it from, and nothing. Just off top is doctored. That's why you can't listen to no motherfuckers like that. That's why I show everything I show. And that's why I like to know where I get it from. And that's why I use official sites too. That's why a lot of this shit, 80 to 90% of the shit I showed you done came from a government source or at less EDU in many cases. So if I'm not supposed to be looking at it, I'm rolling one while I'm ranting real quick. My bad, y'all. What up, crew? Why? Even the truth can't be the truth no more. Exactly. Y'all the one that wrote it down. I'm just going back and read what you wrote. Yeah. Y'all the one that wrote the shit down. The French, the Spaniards, the English, British, and shit. Y'all the one that made this. It wasn't us. I'm just the one that so happened to find it on your dumb ass. Like, okay. Well, let me see what they was talking about back here. You know? Because see, when you reconstruct history, you got to do it many times. You got to keep lying. It's just like any other lie, right? They just keep lying. And like if you keep asking questions about the same story, they got to keep making up more lies to explain the lie, you know? And after a while, they forget about the lies they told about in the beginning. You know, like the 1700s and 1500s and 1600s. And then they start telling you lies about other years, you know, like the 1900s, your current day information, where they finally like, okay, I think we got it. I think we got an actual good school curriculum that we can teach these niggas and they'll believe it. And you know, they'll throw things in there like roots. Did you know roots? Did y'all know roots was in the motherfucking school system? Like, hold on. I should have it in here. If not, it's in my phone. Like people would just say it like, oh yeah, you know. We watch Roots in school type of shit, but oh, you know what? Haley. Okay, it must be on my phone. Hold on, let me send it from my phone. What the hell, phone? God damn it. Right here. We'll send that over to the iPad. Oop, no. To the iPad. And send this over to the iPad. Like, it's one thing to just, like, say, hey, you know, propaganda was pushed a little bit. But when it was fully indoctrinating you, purposely, I'm going to send all of these. Yeah, that's a few more. This will be my last little topic for the morning. Start getting myself together. Okay. So it's one thing to be like, yeah, you know, they taught us, or we watched the movie. But, you know, first of all, most people don't know that Roots was plagiarized off of a book called The African. Yes. Yes, that was the original right there. And that looks so corny right there. Massa balls. But anyway, yeah, we're going to go into the lawsuit about it, okay? But just think about this. It was known to be plagiarized, meaning the story was fake because that wasn't even based on a real story, but they told you that this was. Or, I don't know if they told us, but they made us feel like it was, right? Either way. But even if they didn't make you feel like it was, well, here when I was just cruising through old school books, and they're kind of hard to find. And if any of y'all can find a bunch of old school textbooks from like the earliest of times, even in the 90s, I would like to know some from the 90s and other ones. You know, that'd be cool. But Roots by Alex Haley. Now you got to think about this. How does it slip through the cracks, if it does, if you explain it that way? How does it slip through the cracks that a purposely fake plagiarized story makes it all the way into the school curriculum textbooks? Shouldn't people who build curriculums be very much learned and studied on researching things? Meaning, as soon as they read the book or saw the movie Roots, shouldn't they have done their research to see what other literature was out there and what this was based upon and where this information came from, and actually did his genealogy to actually see if he was telling the truth about Kunta Kinte being in his family, which he lied? Shouldn't they have done some kind of history before it? Like, what kind of level of approval, or what am I trying to say? I'm on my third or fourth blunt right now, but what is the the word I'm thinking of is for like a firewall, but not really firewall. That's like a technical term. But what is the threshold of what kind of research is done by the people who put together these goddamn curriculums to be able to put some in the school books like that? And look, they got a whole section. Now, it's one thing to just have it in there, but no, they got a whole open section with a whole quote from the nigga in the school book. Okay, it's not just, hey, watch this, just tell us what you think. No, this is indoctrination. This is just about as bad as putting Christopher Columbus's fake ass story in the history books, and I know the real stories. It's just about as bad as putting any other little fake ass shit in the school textbooks. This is some bullshit. And they knew it. And you know what? I never read this. Let me read a little bit of it. It's probably going to be funny. He said that they saw stolen people chained inside long, stout, heavily guarded bamboo pens along the shores of the river when small canoes brought important acting tubu, white tea man, from the big canoes. I guess that's supposed to be the African word for white men. That don't make no sense. The stolen people were dragged outside of their pens onto the sands. Their heads had been shaved. And they have been greased until they shined all over. Now think about this. First of all, let's think about this. If I am the person on the approval committee of the curriculum for schools, whatever the fuck that is, let's say I'm the historian. The first question I'm gonna ask this nigga is, where did you read that at? Where did you find that information? Because the years you are talking about, you are not the eyewitness. So who did you interview? Or where did you get the information that their heads had been shaved and they had been greased until they're shined all over? Or are you just adding extras into the story because you're just a weirdo? Okay? You understand why it's important to have logical thought as a person on one of these committees? Shit is insane. And then it says, first they were made to squat and jump up and down, said Omoro. And who the hell is Omoro? And then when the Tubu, whatever, YT folks, has seen enough of that, they ordered the stolen people's mouths forced open, for their teeth had their throats to be looked at, and stuck burning hot irons against their backs and shoulders. And then, screaming and struggling, the people were shipped towards the water, where small canoes waited to them out in the to the big canoes. My brothers and I watched many fall onto their bellies. Now, wait a minute. Where are you reading this? I guess I would have to go to whatever book it is, but I'm not going to do that because I know he plagiarized it, so I know it's a bunch of bullshit either way. But it's like, the way you're speaking is, you say my brother, so that means you're either talking to somebody or you're reading this account from somebody's autobiography or their letters or something. Or are you just making it up? So let's keep going. He says, but they were dragged and beaten on. Hold on, I missed the part. My brothers and I watched many fall into their bellies, clawing and eating the sands. Eating the sand? What? As if to get one last hold and bite of their home. Get out of here. No, they didn't say that. You telling me these niggas is eating dirt so they can taste one little last bite of Africa before they leave? Get out of here, nigga. No, that didn't get approved for the textbooks. I done threw my lighter, nigga. I done threw my lighter on that one, nigga. That's the most idiotic phrase I done ever heard in a book. It ain't the most, but I done heard some shit. He gripped the sand and took a bite and chewed it. It was hard and gritty, but he said Africa was the last thing he wanted to taste before he was dragged onto his slavery. Fuck out of here, nigga. Fuck out of here. That wouldn't even make a good movie scene, nigga. And they made it a movie. I gotta go watch the movie. If I see that scene in the movie, nigga, I'ma fall out. Okay. Cause I ain't seen this movie. I should go watch it and do it live. You know what? I might watch this live. I might watch this live tonight or one night. One of these. Talk about comedy. with me on it, and we can bring up some folks. Talk about comedy, okay? But okay. Because it wasn't funny the first time you watched it. You just kind of watch it through it when you're young. But when you watch through it knowing what you know, oh, it's going to be funny as hell. It's going to be funny as hell. Okay. And this guy. But they were dragged and beaten on. Even in the small canoes by the water, he told Kunta and Lemon some kept fighting, against the whips and the clubs until they jumped into the water among terrible long fish with gray backs and white bellies and curved mouths full of thrashing teeth that reddened the water with their blood. So they were just the killer sharks was sitting there by the boats just waiting on a nigga to come over. Damn, boy, y'all be telling the story. Y'all be throwing too many extras on it. How many niggas gonna make it over if all that going on? Oh my God, dude, that's crazy. So yeah, and when you look, Alex Haley traced his family to Kunta Kinte. Well, that's a lie, right? Because yes, Alex Haley admitted to plagiarize the passages. I traced my family, nigga. I traced my family. Oh, I was just playing. I was just kidding about that. Yeah, all that shit I was talking about. Don't worry about that. And he had brought forth doc. Like if you go to Kunta Kinte's website, it probably still is. Let's see. It's probably still up there. Let's see. Boy, I gotta watch that, boy. That's gonna be funny. The Alex Haley Foundation. Well, you know, they get money off of it. People, that probably is some people that still just think about it. Somebody might be donating. One of your family members might be donating to the Kunta Kinte Foundation still. Just think about that. That's how brainwashed we are in this. Good God, dude. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah. As soon as you go down, look. Look, I found this. This right here is what let me know that my family member, you know what I'm saying? This is what they said that he tied it back. Nigga, this don't have no name on it. Okay? There's so many things about this that I could go into. I don't have the time. I'm about to get off of here, but this is one of the main documents. And if you go through here, you got him just sitting over here looking just, come on, man. And then him, he's like, I need to look a little ethnic. Hand me that Congo. They need to see Africa in me, okay? In my suit. Fuck out of here. No, this nigga's not. What are you doing with this drum, this conga drum? You know damn well you ain't conga the damn thing. These niggas is, boy, sell out ass niggas, man. And this website is pretty decently put together. Like, I wonder if I could see. Look, they got the donate option. You know what I'm saying? He probably out there fighting for the cause. What are you fighting for, sir? It was a plagiarized story. Okay? What is it? You got statues up. That is a Kunta Kinte statue or Alex Haley statue. One of the two. I think the Alex Haley statue. He got a statue, and I think they made a statue of Kunta Kinte or something. And and when you think about the level of indoctrination, it's horrible to try to get you to accept this story. It's just crazy. Let's see. News event. I wonder if you could see. Huh. Hold on. I just laughed just because I saw that negative 105. That just funny. How much that nigga earned that year? Oh, that nigga lost the 105. But nah. Look at this though. In 2024, he's still bringing in a little dollars. You know, it ain't a lot. The total revenue was 13,000, but for a nigga still living off of whatever, that's a little old retirement check. You know what I'm saying? He pay his little state taxes and whatever. He ain't balling, but you know, he can do a little bit more conga drumming if he wants to. But that just lets you know. He said, had me that conga. Yeah. We need you to look a little African. So yeah, he said he could buy more big bongos. Yeah, but what's sad is that they actually show the revenue. And the reason why I knew they would show something is because a lot of times it's public information. Ooh, let's see what this says. Does it show it over some years? This was tax exempt. He's been tax exempt since '95. This is 2024. Boy. 2023. What? They brought in a net income of $477,000 in 2023. How'd that happen? It says net assets 491,000, so they must have liquidated some assets. But 491 in expenses, where the hell all them expenses go? Looks like a nigga playing with money. 15,000 in expenses, net income $804, net assets $500,000 in assets. Look at that though. Notice they have net assets of $500,000, and that's been sitting there for some years, right? $2023. Your net income, you had expenses of $500,000. Yeah. Corruption. What was your expenses? Looks like he's exiting the business. Assets are down there. What you do? Sell the statues, nigga? But still bringing in money. Who would be donating to this? That's crazy, dude. That's crazy. Crazy. I'm gonna have to make a video about that. How does a man go from making a video plagiarizing people and to being in school books and to going to taking that $500,000 later on? Well, let's take a look at the story. Look for that coming soon. Let me go get a screenshot of that before I forget. Yeah. I need them screenshots. The Kunta Kinte Alex Haley Foundation. Let's get this. That's not where I was. What's this one? Must have been this one. That was motherfuckers' tax filings. 2024, 2023, 2022. Just a few quicks. I'll make that later. People need to know about him. You know, he probably been sitting on them assets for several years knowing he was going to cash out that $500,000. And waited for the right time and whatever it was, whatever tax loophole, whatever situation, I don't know what the fuck. But the nigga done stumbled upon Samuel C. today, and now that pesky Samuel has looked into my motherfucking shit. It's like he's sitting somewhere drinking coffee, nowhere knowing I'm over here screenshotting his shit up. Oh, I got you coffee drinking, Congo grabbing motherfucker. Oh Oh man, all right, I gotta get my ass over here, man. I love making y'all laugh, man, and I appreciate y'all. This was an amazing morning. We got up to 250 people in here. Mostly hovered around in the 150s for 180s for a while, and went down a little bit as it should. People getting to work, getting the day going, stuff like that. TikTok removing the nigga visibility and all that shit. It's all good. I understand. I'm out here teaching the folks. But I appreciate y'all that followed. And maybe they are. Oh, I can't see it. Maybe they are trying to delete a lot of Black history, only because they fabricated most of it. Yeah, yeah. And they want to delete the real history. They don't want you looking back in them real old books. That's all a scam. Fire. You on the right path, G. Appreciate that, boss man. Crew ride always. Let me follow you back. I didn't know I didn't follow you back. Always supporting your boy. Dang, you missed it. Oh, it's gonna be on my YouTube and Twitter, and it was long and it was cool too. I forgot. What did we start? Oh yeah, we started off talking about how these black folks in the South lose power, and eventually I'm gonna have to do another one once I actually find out more deeper details. Cause I feel like I'm gonna have to go look through all congressional files that I can between the years of 1810 to 1850 and see what I can find, as well as newspaper articles between those years in the South to see what are people saying, what's going on, archive records, the Library of Congress. I'm gonna have to go to a lot of different sites and look up some books in that time frame. There's a lot of different. But when I say you got to do, you go deep. You got to go deep. You got to really go out there. You know what I'm saying? Say he definitely not slipping on coffee. He's not lived, unfortunately, to see fake exposure. I didn't know he unallowed. Well, then that opens up another thing. Then the sources are irrefutable. They can't stand on it. Plausibility, deniability, for real. That brings up another question. Then, if he's not around no more, then who took that $500,000 out? That's a good question. Hopefully, it was his family. They can keep some of that plagiarism money. I wouldn't be mad at it. But it could have been something else. I enjoyed your live. Share the page. Look mine up. That's what's up. Appreciate that, Tamara. I'll follow you back there. Yeah, appreciate that. Yeah, I'm about to get off here. I got a whole day to go. Hope y'all enjoy y'all Saturday. And hit me up later. Follow me, and I'll be doing more of these. I like doing these morning live streams because I'm always up in the morning. And I'm always researching in the morning. It won't be every morning because then I won't be researching. But I research at night and during the day, other times when I'm not working. But I do a lot of researching in the morning. That's why a lot of my videos are done in the morning. A lot of my videos are done in the morning. Sure thing. Appreciate that. And I check that. And gratitude. Have a good day, y'all. Y'all enjoy y'all day. Yeah, just keep following your boy. I'll be going live again, but yeah, a lot of time in the day, in the morning times, and then I'll be going live in the nighttime sometimes. I might do my professional setup. Excuse me, boy, I had too many of these damn, blunts or whatever. But I might do my professional setup, but I like doing this too. So I'll holler back at y'all. Y'all enjoy y'all morning.